I'd like to turn to the economic overview, as I do every month, and start with some national data to lead into where we are. There was a study by the Rockefeller Institute this month on national data on tax collections at the state level and showed a record-setting decline in the second quarter of 2009. Almost every state reported a drop in total tax revenue, and the average rate of decline was 16%. It's the biggest since 1962. And early third quarter data isn't looking good. This is national data. And following what national economists, the president's advisors, congressional advisors, Federal Reserve governors, and the state economists are saying, there seems to be a consensus that employment and wages are likely to recover more slowly than any other measure of production, which is not surprising and is fairly typical of a recession. I think that there's a feeling that maybe the rapid pace of job destruction is over, but rehiring is going to be slow and unemployment likely to be around for a while. I know Lynn is nodding. So I mentioned the national data because it is consistent with what we're seeing here. Unemployment rates in our three counties remain high, from 11.2% in Multnomah, 10.7% in Clackamas, 10.1% in Washington. So all of us are still above 10%. The state is at 11.5%. We have dropped down to being the sixth highest unemployment rate. We were number 2 for a long time. So unfortunately, other states have moved ahead of us. But there is some positive movement in the actual number of jobs in the counties. Both Clackamas lost 700 jobs, but Multnomah County gained jobs and Washington County gained jobs. Now the numbers are very small, 100, 500, 1,000 jobs. But I think it's additional evidence that maybe we're stabilizing, albeit at a very low level. We are 55,000 jobs less in the three counties than 1 year ago. So if this is where we stabilize, we're going to be building back from a much lower base. So this does have, as we know, negative implications for Trimet, both passenger revenues and tax revenues. Looking at the financials, you'll see passenger revenue is below budget by about 9%. Our budget assumed a growth of about 8.5% in passenger revenue. We assumed no growth in red line, blue line, or green line ridership. Assumed the growth Fred talked about on the green line, and that has been slightly less than anticipated. And when we look at where the percentage decline in passenger revenue comes from, the biggest decline has been in pass revenue, so employer passes and more riders buying one ticket at a time, or a book of tickets rather than a pass. Payroll taxes are also below estimates, but recall that when I look at receipts that we get from Department of Revenue, there's a lag in those receipts. So in August, we got money based on earnings in April, May, and June. And these were lower than they were in prior years at the same time, despite the fact that the tax rate is higher. So next month, we'll see actual receipts reflecting the first quarter of our fiscal year, and we'll have more concrete information about what we're actually receiving for this fiscal year. Expenses are also running under budget. We're watching it really carefully, talking with managers. But I'll caution, I looked at a few items where we were noticeably under budget, talked to the managers, and it's really, they don't expect that to be a year-long trend, maybe a little bit, but it's a timing issue. It's hard to draw too many conclusions with 3 months, but rest assured we're watching it very carefully. But the Accessible Transportation Program is continuing to show costs significantly under budget. Costs for direct service providers in all three counties and for contracted transportation are less than expected. So this is in part due to lower employment, but on a positive note, it's partially explained by the fact that there's more efficient use of resources and improved scheduling. So that's good news.